Welcome to the Even Better podcast, where your host, Sinikka Waugh of Your Clear Next Step, brings you exciting content about making communities better by helping people get even better at work.
Today's episode is brought to you by Your Clear Next Step in the Changemaker Certification Program.
Would you like to save time by solving the right problem sooner with a realistic and measurable plan? Reduce overwhelm by finding more sustainably productive ways to work? Improve employee morale by creating more positive workdays from within? Stay competitive by tightening your turn or increasing your agility in adapting to changing customer demands? If you said yes to those things, then we have the solution for you.
Interested in becoming a changemaker? Give us a call at 515-442-0545.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Even Better podcast. This is part of our ongoing mission here at Your Clear Next Step to help us all have even better workdays so that together we can co-create better communities. And I am delighted to welcome my friend and our guest today, Rob Taylor. Rob, thanks so much for joining us today.
Sinikka, my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. And I am, so it's great. Rob and I are getting reconnected again. We have known each other for years. We're not going to count how many years because that's just won't be good for either one of us.
Nope.
So we won't count how many years it's been, but we're getting reconnected and I am delighted. So for those of you who don't know Rob, let's get a little reacquainted here. I'll do just a little bit of introduction of Rob. We've got Rob today in his role. Rob is a certified EOS implementer. And as my listeners know, I am a fan. I am an advocate. EOS is not the only game out there, but man, it's a good one. And so Rob is a certified EOS implementer. And in the journey that I've known Rob, so I'll tell you just a little bit about my personal experience, things that I know about Rob. I know that Rob is one of those guys that walks the walk. So he's had experience doing this. He's lived and breathed EOS and the kinds of things that EOS can bring to an organization from his own life before being an EOS implementer. And now that he's doing this with other organizations, he is helping people through. And it's just been a joy to get reconnected with Rob after all these years and just see what he's doing as an entrepreneur and growing his own business in the market here in Central Iowa today. And plus we're friends and have some other connections as well. So Rob, what do you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Native Iowan, lived up until this December, past December in Oskaloosa for over 30 years, which is where you and I met. And in my, reestablishing here in the Des Moines area over the last 3 years, out networking with people, bumped into you at a chamber Central Iowa Business Conference, I believe, event. So that was fun, Sinikka. I'll never forget that day. It was like, oh my gosh, Sinikka, it's been so many years. But yeah, a native Iowan, grew up in the farming community, Southeast Iowa, but watching my parents own and be those entrepreneurial owners of a small business. So I learned a lot about myself there and their work ethic, my work ethic. And yes, went to work for a founding visionary business owner in Oskaloosa who connected us years ago with Interpower Corporation. And that's really where I cut my teeth, learning the ins and outs of running a privately held business with a team, manufacturing, startup, those kind of things. And then multiple hats. What's it take to manufacture, sell, marketing, sales, all those things. And from an international perspective, which is how we got to know you years ago in the fun space of going to German trade shows and you teaching us Deutsch, sprechen Sie Deutsch, and my goodness, that was fun. So it's been a fun journey. My looking back over the years of what I've experienced and done and been, and now EOS is really a continuation of me helping other businesses grow their businesses. I love working with business owners, helping them deal with challenges, frustrations, but ultimately helping them clarify what it is they want out of their business, what do they sometimes want out of their life, and really helping them get there.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you. So I have to do a little point of clarification because there's a whole bunch of people out there who know me as someone who is a Francophile, right? And a Francophone. So someone who speaks French. And I studied French for many, many years and spent 2 years living in Paris. And it is it is less known, decidedly less known that I also speak German. And so you just let a cat out of the
Yeah,
bag there. My husband is more known for his German speaking abilities. And then I also have spent time in Germany and have tagged along with him in many of his when
fun.
he takes students over to Germany. And my conversational German is good and my instructional German is fine because I'm an instructor.
I love
And
it.
so I spoke German, I speak German. And when we were teaching German for that company, helping you guys get ready for trade shows. So I speak trade shows and I speak German, and I have this
Yes.
very specific set of vocabulary in addition to my conversational and travel German and my upbringing German. There's also this niche vocabulary that was useful at Inner Power Components that
Yeah,
became all kinds of fun that we worked in.
it
And
did.
yeah,
It's part
that
of the
was
journey. Part of the
that was a
journey.
hoot.
Yeah.
I've missed those days.
Yes, I do too.
Oh, but okay. So let's talk about the things because as I listen to your story and as I listen to your
Hmm.
journey, and as our listeners, some of our listeners are entrepreneurs for sure. We
Hmm.
have entrepreneurs out there, and we also have though in our listeners many folks who go to work and are operating within someone else's organization, right? They're
Yes.
not running their own space, and you have
Hmm.
plenty of seasons under your belt of working inside someone else's organization. So I want to make
Absolutely.
sure that as we're listening and as people are listening to this podcast, that everybody's got a chance to get something out of today about how
Hmm.
we can have a better day regardless of where we sit, whether we're
Right.
running the place or whether we're sitting within it, whether we're learning German or whether whatever it
Yeah.
is that we happen to be doing. What are these nuggets? And this is what I'm hoping that we're going to unpack today, because I think the thing that I've appreciated about you and that I'm starting to see now is your desire to really help people have
Yes.
their get the most out of their day and get the most out of what they're doing. So how do you show up? What's your secret sauce, Rob? What's the thing that you're bringing to the table that makes you different?
Oh my. Well, I'd like to say I listen, and of course, there's
Mhm.
those moments where I tend to, we get into situations where, in a team setting with a leadership team, yes, owner and other leaders, and sometimes other employees, that it's the challenge of really hearing the individual message and the team message. Um, and this is something that I've found over the years. It is so important to really understand, clarify what is best. And I do tend to start with the owner because they are that key decision maker typically.
Okay.
They're paying me to come in and help them get where they want to get to, and that's ultimately the question: what do they want to achieve? And ultimately, to your question, it's having that same conversation in a group setting
Mhm.
with others,
Right.
knowing that just having it in the group setting can change the conversation a little bit, but we do start with a concept of an expectation that we're all open and honest. We need to be open to what we hear from others, but we also need to be honest, say what we're thinking. And that I have found, Seneca, that call it trust, call it team health, call it hearing what people really are saying, tends to start with what do they want out of X, whatever that is. It's the business, their life, what are they wanting? And sometimes when we're working with another business owner, working for a business owner, if what we're wanting doesn't align with that owner and the organization, that's a key issue for us to noodle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we happy here? And sometimes that's an uncomfortable thing, but life is short.
Right. Life is short. And so I love that point about listening. So whether you're
Yeah.
listening to the owner or whether you're listening in that group setting, really understanding to whatever the frustrations are or
Yeah.
what is the goal, what is the direction, where are we
Right.
headed, and that that idea of that candid understanding of who is really here and what are we really talking about.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that. So let's talk about what does EOS tend to do? So when you think about how EOS helps, I am a fervent believer that we
Mhm.
can have better work days, and EOS is one of the ways that we can have better
Yes.
work days.
hmm hmm
So what do you see that does?
Yes. Well, and it starts with, I love how you say better work days, because there are times we all know there's some of those moments where we have some not so fun days, better days, good days. And those are experiences. That's life. We go through those. So we're trying to have more wins than the maybe the bad days. If you look at it through the lens of a business, the owner, the leaders of the organization, and this I realize can be a 5 to 10 person organization, maybe even less. My case, I've got some companies with 800 employees. Um, there's all kinds of frustrations, and sometimes those frustrations and issues are problems. Sometimes they are capacity issues, just being able to get free to make decisions and focus on things and have alignment. And so, to your question, we tend to start with team, individual. What are some of the issues you're struggling with? Sometimes it's the business for the owner or for the team. They're feeling like they're having a really hard time discerning the difference between where their business life begins and ends versus their personal. So that
Mm,
controlling them to the point that they're 2 a.m. working on things, for sake of got to look good, got to be, rise to the top. So that the business controlling in some ways or some fashion the individuals. Sometimes there's money issues. We're doing all this work and not having much left over to show for it.
yep.
But a lot of times we're dealing with people issues.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes it's us working together, getting along, not aligned. Sometimes it's we have people that don't fit, or sometimes, if I'm at look at myself as an employee, here again, am I aligned with this organization? Do I fit the culture? And that's a personal decision I have to resolve on my own. Am I happy here?
Yep.
And then sometimes I see organizations where they're trying all kinds of things. You've got a strong owner, business leader who's getting the new idea, and they're coming in and we try that. Then we change to the next flavor of the month and the next book of the month. And it's like things are just not, and so there's all kinds of things like that we see. That tends to be those five. And to your question, Seneca, this entrepreneurial operating system, EOS,
Yep.
created by Gino Wickman based on the book Traction that he created and wrote, it's really this complete proven system, simple tools that teams at the top implement to really help run the business. And if I could jump to the quick level, the elevator pitch, it's really helping that team clarify and simplify what they want to achieve for the business long term, and I'd say even short term,
Yep.
but then achieve it. It's really about where are we going, simplify strategic planning, execute the plan, achieve the plan.
Right.
Knowing that issues pop up, the best laid plan gets derailed. How do we course correct? We got a plan, we think we got the right person, all of a sudden something changes. We got to now go to plan B. How do we do an audible to help keep on track and achieve what we want? So ultimately, it's really a system to help run the business and achieve long-term, short-term goals to help grow and improve. And that whole thing, grow and improve, what does that mean? It depends on what the decision makers want to achieve. And hopefully, you have whether it's 5 employees or 50, ideally they all want the same thing. And if that's the case, it's a beautiful thing. When they don't, that's where we have issues and we have to work that out. It's about alignment.
Yep. Which is part of why I think part of why we gravitate together as friends, and part of why I really love the idea of where we started this conversation, which is listening. right? You got to start with listening. What do the people in the organization want? What does the leader want? And what do the people within the organization want?
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
just I think about the three uniques, if you will, the three things that are differentiating features that your Clear Next Step brings to the table. And one of the first one is that we listen, and then our second one is that we love out loud. But our first one is that we listen. And if we don't stop and listen first to what the
Right.
organization wants, what do the people want, what do the leaders want, what do the people within the organization want, and I assume that you're doing this within your EOS implementation. We're doing this within our training.
Yes.
If we don't, an EOS implementation or whatever problem you're trying to solve, it doesn't work if you come in. We all know people who've done this. You try and solve a problem, but you didn't listen first to what was the problem that we were trying to solve. You just come in with a solution, and you come in, you spray paint something, or you come and you offer some sort of medicinal solution to a problem that isn't really the problem you're trying to solve. Let's stop for a second.
Right.
Let's listen to what is the problem that is going on here. Is it to the ones that you just
Hmm.
enumerated, right? Is it that
Hmm.
that we're not making money? Is it that the thing is taking over our lives? Is it that the people aren't the right fit or the right people in the right seats? Or is it that they don't want to be here? Or is it that we don't have alignment? Or is
Yeah.
it that we're getting so distracted before we're focus and execute? What is the problem? And then we
Yeah.
can focus and solve the right problem. But none of that happens if
Right.
you don't stop and listen first. And so I so
Right.
appreciate that you started by
Well,
listening.
and, not to get off into the world of faith and religion, but in my walk through life, another word that has popped up that even resonates in the business world is discernment. We're
Mm,
listening, we're having discussions toward alignment, knowing that we're discerning what it is that we want to achieve. And it's not just let's make a decision. That's a process in and of itself to discern and align on and decide long term where we're taking something. And that gets into, we talk about SMART goals: specific, measurable, applicable, realistic, timely. And sometimes something isn't realistic,
right.
but yet it's one of my colleagues makes a comment about the bigger the vision, the more audacious it is, the more issues you have to overcome.
Mhm.
And so it becomes a gut check on, again, discerning, is that really what we want to achieve? Can we achieve it? Do we, knowing that maybe it's a 10 years down the road goal, we might have a hard time seeing the path right now. But if that's really what we want, when you see people come together and do the lift together, they can really do anything they want. But we tend to be throttled back or limited by what we see as barriers, things we haven't overcome. So the point is that discernment really starts with, is that in our heart and our mind what we really want? Is that our dream? Knowing that sometimes dreams are dreams and they're struggles to achieve. But if that's what we really want and we are going to feel comfortable, willing to do the hard work to fulfill that, and we can compel others who really share that as well to make it happen, we can be unstoppable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'm going to pause on this because the idea that it is a process is
Hmm.
so important.
Hmm.
This work doesn't happen overnight.
No.
I love that Gino Wickman has codified the process, right? Has
Hmm.
systematized, and there is an entrepreneurial
Yeah.
operating system. There is a system to it. There is a process to it, and there is
Hmm.
some schedule to it, and there is some uh, organization that allows it to happen in a concentrated space. and
Yes.
and I know our listeners can't see me, but I'm using my hands to condense the space in the air in front of me. So I'm packing it down because there's a pretty strict schedule, and we follow a schedule, and
Yeah.
there's a rigorous agenda for our regular meetings, and then our quarterly meetings and our annual meetings. There's a regular agenda that allows us to focus and be disciplined about how we use our time. And yet, even with that focus and execute on our how we use our time, it still doesn't pretend. There is no
No.
pretense that poof, that poof, we're going to just imagine instantaneously. We know exactly what we're going to do, and poof, it's going to happen in the
Right.
blink of an eye. That's not so. I love your word discernment. It is a journey. It's a process.
There's a tool. This is sharing some of the things behind the curtain of EOS that we do. We have a tool. It's literally called the Clarity Break,
Mm,
and it's designed to help. Think about, okay, so let's say Seneca, Monday, you and I are going to have a strategic planning session. We call it a quarterly pulse or whatever we call it, and we're going to come in and we're going to start making plans. Well, we're going to discern things, we're going to discuss, but the more we can come to that event with things having been thought through on our side, not that we have all the answers, not that our feet are dug in, we're not going to budge. We're coming with, we've had some clarity. Here's where we've been at the last 90 days. Here's some things that we've got to overcome, but here's still that long-term audacious goal. Here's the plan for the year, the plan for the next 3 years. What do we really got to get done this next 90 days? And the more clarity I have, the more I'm looking at it through the lens of what I feel I need to achieve, what we need to achieve. And then we come together to have the discussions to sort all that out and overcome disagreements, hopefully be a united front. We'll figure it out. And so it is a process for the team. It's a process for the individuals to get their head clear on what they want to do, what needs to be done.
yes. Those clarity breaks have been so valuable in our organization.
Mhm.
They've been so important. And it's not the same as a it's not time off. It's not a brain break. It is an intentional clarity break where you
Yep.
intentionally focus on the thing on which you need to get clarity, and you that
Yep.
we have used them so powerfully in our organization, and we have other things too that create these spaces, these pauses
Hmm.
where you can intentionally step away from the grind, step away from the day to
Yes.
day, like tyranny of the urgent, if you will, and say, no, no,
Whirlwind.
this is right, the whirlwind, and say, this is important. We need to focus on this and get some clarity and spend some time with the data in hand, with the information in hand, and reflect on it and really think about it. Maybe put ourselves in a different space than we usually are for thinking. Maybe
Hmm.
move ourselves physically so we've got light in a different way and sound in a different way, so we're in a different space and see things
Yep.
upside down and backwards so that we
Hmm.
can see it differently and get clarity, so then when we do come together we have this new insight, and they're so powerful. I
Well,
love clarity breaks.
and not to get too much into the different people dynamics, but all of this said, I can hear some saying, "Oh, but wait, if we have a person who tends to be this, I'll use the term visionary, all kinds of ideas, and struggles to sometimes focus on how to achieve those." I tend to be a visionary, and I understand both sides of this. Um, my point is, having people take time to think and discern and have clarity on where we're going and things, it can do two things. It can help them focus, but it can also help them come up with maybe 500 new ideas. And so now this team is going, whoa, where'd all this come from? That's life. We have some people that struggle to see past what's in front of them. And when they also have people that can't help but not see what's coming down the road 20 years from now, and they want to have it all happen now, but they have clarity
Yep.
and we come together. It becomes a process of how do we have a conversation about how does that align with our mission, our core of who we are, our core values? Is that really collectively what we've agreed to? Or are we basically questioning now where we're going 5, 10 years from now? And those are all things that a team has to work through. And that's what we call the leadership team,
Ah,
making those decisions to help. And I use a phrase, we use a phrase, be the leadership team the company deserves.
oh, I love that.
That's important to be thinking about. It's easy to be leaders and say, hey, we made a decision, but taking the organization, basically being that servant leader, taking this organization forward for what's best for the company, yes, best for the employees, best for the customers, like the collective, and that can be a little bit political saying those things, but it's ultimately we need leadership, directional, going the right direction, doing the right things. And those discernment, the clarity breaks helps us all have some thought on what that even means. So that way we're not making decisions shooting from the hip, which can whip things around.
Which and can feel frustrating for those
Oh
in the
gosh.
trenches. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were talking about visionaries coming up with lots of ideas. I have this distinct recollection of a season in our organization when I would have the scheduled, we call them mental health days. And so I would have these scheduled mental health days. And so it would be my calendar would be clear and I could use the time to do whatever it was that I needed to do. And I would come back from those days and inevitably I would have had some time to think forward on the business, right? Not in the business, but inevitably I would carve off some time for that because I just delight in that. And so I would
Yeah.
come back from this mental health day and I'd have a list of like 25 things that I'd like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And the team would be like, oh crap. So I had a mental health day again. Now what do we do? And there was a person in the team, and this was pre-EOS, so we didn't understand that, but a person who was ideally suited to be an integrator who would say, okay, Sinikka, you
Yes.
just came back with 25 ideas. These are not all good ideas.
That's right.
There
You
are
need to hear that
25,
sometimes.
but they're not all good ideas. And so we're going to prioritize some of these. Some of these are good for later.
Yep.
One of these is really good for right now. Two of these we need to flesh out a little bit more. And but instead of the team being flooded
Yeah.
with, oh crap, Sinikka had free time. What do we do with those? How do we shape those?
And sometimes a dynamic can be that person, you or me in that situation, surrounded by a team who are, and this is sometimes the people pleaser type. They want to fulfill what it is you want to fulfill. And sometimes that's like throwing gas on the fire. And it's all with the goodness of our heart to want to help somebody achieve that. But we also have to kind of then think strategically, though, of are we still doing the right thing by fulfilling these new ideas? Is that going to derail us? Because happens is when you start thinking about the book Good to Great and casting a vision and working the plan. Because at the end of the day, we can have all kinds of ideas, but the successful companies are those that find a way to execute effectively,
Yeah.
working toward achieving what they want. And it's like think about the stock market. When you start just having consistent investment, going forward and not trying to move money around to the latest best buy to get the biggest gain, it just becomes that over time compounding interest. You're going to gain more. So there's an analogy there. You think about how do we strategically plan to achieve something long term, and if we stick to the plan and work the plan, similar to where financial investments, if we stick to the plan, work the plan, not move things around haphazardly, we will be more successful.
Absolutely. And EOS really brings the discipline to do that. And I love that
Hmm.
it has so many components. It doesn't just do one thing, right? It doesn't
No.
just look at your vision.
Hmm.
It doesn't just look at, where
Hmm.
you're headed. We've talked about process, but it's not just about the process and the vision. I mean, it's got a sequence of things that it looks at because it is so robust.
Yeah. I think, not to go too much into the what is the tools of EOS, but for those that are listening, we're talking about a team and alignment and getting clarity on where we're taking things and the plan to achieve it. The one of the key tools that people who know EOS love and becomes the bread and butter of EOS is the Vision Traction Organizer. A simple two-page. What's our vision? What does that all mean? There's 8 questions on this document. Where we're taking the organization, what do we want to achieve, and what's the plan to achieve it? And that really helps a team get it down to 2 pages, which means they have to simplify it, which means they have to, the more simple it is, the easier it will be to share it and achieve it.
Yeah.
I have had one of my favorite current clients, but originally he came to me with a 23-page vision document. And I said, that's great. I love it. Thank you. Has anybody else seen this? Well, yes, they have, and that's not being critical. It's a challenge of helping them now. How do they share that vision? How do they become a part of helping make it happen? And Gino Wickman's wisdom of getting it down to this 2-page document makes it easy for us to have bite-sized chunks and understand it, which means we can better help achieve it together.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, I know we're getting close on time here. And Rob, I am so grateful for your time today.
Yeah.
If we were to wrap this up and kind of put a pin on it, what closing thoughts would you have about that would sort of bring this back together as people are thinking about EOS or the idea of listening or alignment? Any closing thoughts around that?
I think the closing comment would be, you started off by asking about my background. I came from an organization that we created our own methodology for casting a vision and working a plan to achieve it. And I went off on my own to help other businesses do that using some of what we had organically created. And I found that sometimes a person like Gina Wickman comes along and dials this in and makes it and basically proves it out to where it can work with any kind of organization. And sometimes feeling like you have to buy into a program feels constraining. This is one that once you see what it is and understand it, it is simple. It's just work the process, follow the process, and it will help you achieve what you want. So when we talk about being a complete, simple, proven process, and I've tried all kinds of things. That's why I'm doing it. It is simple, and you put in the reps, you'll get the results you want.
Yeah, for sure. Hear, hear. And this would not be the Even Better podcast if I didn't ask my trademark question. What's making you even better these days, Rob?
I was prepared for this. I appreciated the heads up on here comes a question. Um, Not that this is all about EOS, but my wife and I have been on a journey to use EOS in our personal life.
Oh, neat.
So having probably every 2 weeks, level 10 meetings, which is our cadence for making sure we're on track to achieve our goals for the quarter, our setting to-dos, working out issues that come up in my wife and I's personal life. I tend to come out of our weekly, every 2 weeks meeting with about 15 to-dos, and so does my wife. But it's our personal life, yes, where we're at with our health goals and our diet and our exercise and going on walks together and scheduling that to help us be aligned and losing weight, spending more time together, more intentional toward our bucket list, toward our lifelong goals, financial planning. It pulls it all together. So that has been, I mean, my wife and I are happily married 36 years, and it's just taken it up a notch.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we are going to have to talk about this one again. I'm going to have you back another day and we're going to talk about how that is going because that is so cool. EOS for married couples. This one I want to hear.
Yeah.
So that is going to we're gonna speed that up for another day and maybe your wife will come on too because this sounds like so cool.
She would be like, "What are you signing me up for?" But she'd love to.
I love it. Rob, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I am so grateful.
Thank you, Sinikka. It's great to see you again.
Likewise. And to all our listeners, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you found something that you can take away and apply right away to make your day even better. And on behalf of all of us here at Your Clear Next Step, thanks for listening. And we hope the rest of your day is even better.
Thank you for tuning in today. The Even Better podcast will be back with more content soon. But in the meantime, subscribe to our podcast or check out our website at yourclearnextstep.com for more information. See you next episode.